Picture a late-night drive, windows down. One of these songs playing softly on the radio. You felt something in that voice you couldn't explain. A pain that cut deeper than the melody. A weight behind every single word that stayed with you long after the song was over.
We can all sing this one, come on. When it's...
You weren't imagining it. That voice was carrying something real, something dark, something the labels didn't want you to know. The magazines refused to print. And
I've got sunshine, be what you've been waiting for.
The award shows pretended simply didn't exist. Tonight we go behind the music, behind the Grammy speeches and the sold-out arenas and the smiles held for the cameras, 10 voices, 10 battles with addiction, 10 hidden stories the industry buried while the records kept selling and the world kept dancing. Stay with me, let's go. Number 10, Natalie Cole. This Will Be an Everlasting Love. She stood on the Grammy stage in 1976 and accepted Best New Artist and Best R&B Vocal Performance in the same night. The industry crowned her the next Queen of Soul. She was 25 years old, the daughter of the legendary Nat King Cole. The future looked like everything. What nobody in that audience knew, she had been arrested for heroin possession in Toronto just months earlier. On the very eve of her debut album release, handcuffed, fingerprinted, interrogated under a bright light by officers convinced she was hiding something much larger. She wasn't hiding kilos. She was hiding grief. Her father died when Natalie was just 15 years old. That wound never properly healed. But by university, she had moved through pills, LSD, and heroin. She forged checks to fund the habit. She switched to cocaine after losing a close friend to an overdose, convinced the switch would save her. It didn't save her. And I'm so glad that you rectified my mind. Sunshine into my life. You fill me with happiness. You brought a light. It just changed the timeline. By the early 1980s, her career had collapsed completely. Labels dropped her. Shows were cancelled. The hits stopped coming. In 1981, a fire broke out in her Las Vegas hotel room while she was in the middle of a cocaine binge. She refused to leave the room. Firefighters had to break down the door and physically remove her from the building. This is music that feels like a warm hand finding yours in the dark, gentle and knowing and safe. And behind every note, a woman who couldn't find her way out of a burning room. She finally entered treatment in 1983 and got clean on November 29th of that year. She remembered that exact date for the rest of her life. But the years of substance abuse had left a permanent mark on her body. In 2008, she was diagnosed with hepatitis C, a direct consequence of her past drug use. It damaged her kidneys severely. She received a kidney transplant in 2009. She passed away on December 31st. The one I've waited for, this will be the 2015, 1 Grammy, 1 burning room, 1 date in November she never forgot. From a daughter who couldn't outrun her grief, to a voice that cocaine swallowed whole.
Before we continue, can I quickly say something on behalf of my wife? She's the one behind this channel, and she would never ask you for this herself, but I see everything. The late nights, the hours she spends bringing these songs back to life, just so someone out there can feel something again. And the part that really gets to me is this. Only about 10% of people watching are subscribed, so most people come here, enjoy it, feel the nostalgia, and then leave her behind. I'm not even saying this to make you feel bad, but yeah, it does hurt her. She just keeps going anyway. So I'm asking you, as her husband, if this channel has ever meant anything to you, even a little, please don't just watch and go. Take 1 second. Subscribe. It's free. But to her it means everything. It tells her she's not doing all this for nothing. All right, let's get back to the music.
Number 9, David Ruffin. My girl. Close your eyes and hear that voice.
My girl, it's my girl. I love to talk about my girl, yeah.
Raw, gospel deep, aching like a man genuinely terrified of being left behind. That wasn't just performance. That was David Ruffin speaking directly through the microphone about his own life.
Possibly sometime we men don't have a tendency to treat all. Oh, I love to talk about you, baby. You know, we find today that
by 1968, his cocaine use had made him nearly impossible to work alongside. He began missing rehearsals and shows. He demanded that the Temptations, one of the greatest groups in the history of Motown, rename themselves David Ruffin and the Temptations.
everyone, I've even got so much to make my girl. There's a love for you.
The group fired him without hesitation that summer, and that rejection, that specific moment of being removed from the thing he loved most, became a wound that cocaine would keep reopening for the rest of his life. He recorded 2 modest solo hits over the following decade. By the 1980s, he was deep in the grip of crack cocaine. Arrested in Detroit for possession in 1988, sentenced to 2 years probation. He violated it almost immediately. June 1st, 1991.
You know, there's someone for everyone because
purchased 10 vials of crack cocaine at 2 in the morning at a house in West Philadelphia. He consumed all 10 in under 30 minutes. He collapsed unconscious on the floor. The man who had driven him there left him at the hospital emergency entrance without giving his name to anyone. He arrived at the hospital tagged as a John Doe. The medical staff used FBI fingerprint records to identify the man lying in front of them as the voice behind My Girl. He had $53 in his pockets.
possibly sometime we men don't have a tendency to treat all. Oh, I love to talk about you, baby. You know, we find today that
British concert tour he had completed just days before had generated over $300,000 in revenue. Nobody ever located the rest of the money. One voice, one crack house, $53 at the end. From the man the Temptations left behind to the godfather who lost himself to angel dust. Number 8, James Brown. I Got You, I Feel Good. The godfather of soul.
I knew that I would not.
The most charted recording artist in the entire history of the Billboard charts. The man whose rhythms and drum patterns built the very foundation that hip-hop, funk, and modern R&B stand on to this day. By January of 1988, he had accumulated 4 separate criminal charges within a single 12-month period, every one of them connected to PCP, weapons possession, and behavior that was frightening everyone around him. PCP angel dust, one of the most powerfully disorienting substances that can enter the human brain. His own bandmates described witnessing him get so deeply under its influence that he genuinely believed he could fly.
So nice, I got you.
On September 24, 1988, while under the influence of PCP, James Brown entered a business seminar taking place in the building next door to his office. He was carrying a shotgun. He accused the seminar attendees of using the restroom connected to his private office and ordered everyone to leave the building. When police arrived, he fled in his pickup truck.
I feel good. Bye. So nice.
What followed was a high-speed chase that crossed 2 states, Georgia and South Carolina, reaching speeds of up to 85 miles per hour. He attempted to use his vehicle to block pursuing police cars. Officers shot out his tires. He drove 6 miles further on the bare rims before the truck finally crashed into a ditch.
I feel good. Bye. So nice, so good, so good.
He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. He served just over 2. The same performer who dropped to his knees on stage every night and rose again beneath a glittering cape, undone by a substance that convinced him strangers were in his bathroom. One godfather, one shotgun, one substance that rewired everything, from the man the music industry built to the man it quietly used up and threw away. Number 7, Rick James. Super freak.
She's a super freak. She's a
$7,000 every single week on cocaine, week after week, for 5 consecutive years. That is not a rumor or an exaggeration. Those are Rick James' own words from his own memoir. He began using marijuana and heroin as a teenager. Cocaine arrived when the money did. By the time Super Freak was dominating radio in 1981, the addiction had already taken full control. Fellow musician Sly Stone introduced him to freebasing, and after that there was no bottom.
she's a
Just deeper and deeper into the darkness. His behavior grew increasingly erratic and dangerous throughout the late 1980s. By 1991, his addiction had driven him to actions so severe that he faced the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison.
she's alright. That girl's alright.
He was convicted on multiple charges, including assault and false imprisonment, and served time at Folsom State Prison. Nobody was writing about what the drugs had truly cost him. They were writing about the music, the collaborations, the legacy. He was released from prison and attempted to rebuild. His body and his reputation never fully recovered. He passed away on August 6th, 2004. His autopsy revealed 9 different substances present in his system. 9.
She's a super freak.
Not 1, not 2, 9. Crack cocaine didn't just slow Rick James down. It dismantled the man completely, while the music industry looked the other way and kept collecting royalties. One funk legend, 9 substances, 0 intervention. From the man who fell, the hardest, to a woman the government tried to silence songs forever. Mid-roll CTA. If these stories are hitting you the way I know they are, drop a comment right now. Tell me which one stopped you cold. We are only halfway through, and the stories ahead are the ones nobody in the industry ever wanted told. Nothing prepares you for number 1. Make sure you are subscribed right
14, I'll be waiting. When I get the crowd to her, she says,
now, so you don't miss it. Number 6, Bobby Brown. Don't be cruel. Nobody in the history of R&B has carried more blame for another person's destruction than Bobby Brown. For over a decade, the world made him the villain of Whitney Houston's story, the bad influence. The reason everything fell apart. Here is what was never part of that story. In 1993, Bobby Brown was kidnapped by a street gang in New York over a $25,000 drug debt. The gang threatened his life. Whitney Houston quietly paid a $400,000 ransom to bring him home safely. The incident was never reported to the police, never made the headlines, never became part of the public narrative about who Bobby Brown really was. The man the world blamed for Whitney's addiction needed his wife to pay nearly $500,000 to save his life from a drug debt.
Girl, the only girl,
his struggle started long before Whitney, long before the cameras. He grew up in one of the most difficult neighborhoods in Boston, exposed to addiction from childhood. A traumatic experience with a trusted authority figure when he was young left a wound he buried so deeply. It took him decades to speak about publicly. The addiction grew from that silence, from that unhealed pain. Don't be cruel. Sold.
girl, the only
7 million copies in 1988. He was already losing a war nobody around him could see. By 1997, during the New Edition reunion tour, his addiction had reached a point where he became so overwhelmed by paranoia that he fled the tour bus in the middle of the night, believing his own life was in danger. He abandoned the tour entirely. His bandmates stood in stunned silence, watching one of the most gifted performers of their generation come apart in real time. He got clean in 2000. When Whitney picked him up from jail, there were
girl, the only girl, so hoping that matters in my life.
drugs in the car. He stayed sober. She couldn't. That gap tore everything apart. I think she'd still be here if we hadn't divorced. He said that himself. He lives with it every day. One childhood wound, one ransom Whitney paid to save him, one sobriety that came too late for both of them. From a man who lost everything to addiction, to a prince who was destroyed by the one person who should have protected him most. Number 5. Whitney Houston.
We'll stay.
I Will Always Love You. An entire decade pointed at Bobby Brown. Magazine covers, talk show panels, documentary after documentary building the same narrative. Bobby Brown was the reason Whitney fell.
So I'll go love you.
Here is the truth that the Houston family sat on for years. It was Whitney's own brother Michael who first introduced her to cocaine. Before Bobby Brown, before the marriage, before any of it.
I'll always love you. I would only be in. And
He admitted it himself on camera in an interview with Oprah Winfrey. "I feel responsible," he said. "I let it go too far." Whitney Houston was certified by the Guinness World Records as the most awarded female recording artist in history when she performed the national anthem at Super Bowl 25 in 1991.
We'll stay. I'll always love you.
She recorded it in a single take. That recording is still widely considered the greatest performance of that song ever committed to tape. She was fighting cocaine while she stood on that field and made the world stop breathing. This is music that reaches directly into the center of your chest and touches something that nothing else can reach. That voice, that once-in-a-generation instrument, was fighting for its life every single day behind the microphone. She passed away on February 11th, 2012, found in a hotel bathtub in Beverly Hills. She was 48 years old.
And
Later, her daughter, Bobby Christina, was found unresponsive in a bathtub in eerily similar circumstances. She was 22 years old. She never recovered. She passed away 6 months later. Then in 2020, Bobby Brown's son, Bobby Jr., was found dead in his Los Angeles home. He was 28 years old. One family.
And your way.
3 devastating losses, all connected by a darkness that began long before any of them were old enough to understand what it was. 1 voice, 1 family, 3 coffins. Number 4, Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing.
Cause you do it right.
He recorded Sexual Healing while freebasing cocaine in Belgium. That Grammy-winning comeback record, the song that made the entire world feel like it could breathe again in 1983, created by a man who had already attempted to end his own life on 3
Oh, I can tell you, darling, that it's me. And baby, now let's get down tonight.
separate occasions. His most desperate attempt came in 1979 when he consumed an entire ounce of cocaine in the span of a single hour, not to get high, but because he wanted it to be over. He survived. He kept making music. He kept carrying the weight of a childhood spent beneath the fists of a father who never once told him he was enough. His cocaine addiction began quietly in the early 1960s at Motown and deepened steadily through every decade of his career. He was $9.2 million in debt by 1983.
Let's make love tonight. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Baby.
He owed $4.5 million of that to the IRS alone. He moved back into his parents' house that year, back under the same roof as the man who had defined his suffering because he had run out of other options. By Christmas 1983, the paranoia had reached a point where he rarely left his bedroom. He wore 3 overcoats indoors. He placed his shoes on the wrong feet. On Christmas Day 1983, he gave his father a handgun as a gift.
Baby, sexual healing. Get up, get up, get up.
On April 1st, 1984, one single day before his 45th birthday, his father used it. When police asked Marvin Gaye Sr. whether he had loved his son, his answer was, Let's say I didn't dislike him. Marvin Gaye placed the weapon in his father's hands himself. What's going on? Let's get it on. I heard it through the grapevine. Sexual healing. Every masterpiece built by a man who was never once given permission to simply be at peace. One Christmas gift, one day before his birthday, one father who didn't dislike him. Number 3, Billie Holiday. Strange
Southern tree flesh is their strange
Fruit. She recorded Strange Fruit in 1939, a devastating and courageous protest against racial violence in America so powerful that Columbia Records refused to release it. She released it independently. It sold over 1 million copies. The federal government came for her the same year. Harry Anslinger, the founding commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics and the architect of America's war on drugs, was so openly
mouth, scent of southern tree flesh.
racist that his own senators called for his resignation over the language he used in official government memos. To him, Billie Holiday represented everything he feared. Not because of heroin, because she was a black woman using her platform to challenge the status quo, and she refused to back down. He assigned an undercover agent to follow her and build a case against her. She was arrested in 1947 and sentenced to a year in federal prison.
Eyes and the twisted mouth, scent of southern tree.
When she walked out, New York City revoked her cabaret performer's license, meaning she could no longer legally perform in any venue that served alcohol, in a city whose entire music economy ran on jazz clubs and late-night venues. That was not a punishment. It was an execution of her livelihood, wrapped in legal language. She kept performing in concert halls. She kept singing Strange Fruit. They kept coming. In 1959, she collapsed in Manhattan. Liver failure. She was carried into hospital, barely conscious.
Mouth, scent of southern tree flesh.
And told her closest friend on the way in, "They are going to kill me in there. Don't let them." She was right. Federal narcotics agents arrived at her hospital room. She was placed under arrest, handcuffed to her hospital bed, photographed and fingerprinted while lying there dying. Armed officers were stationed outside her door. On Anslinger's personal instruction, her medication was cut off, and her body, already failing, could not withstand what followed. She passed away on July 17th.
Mouth, scent of southern tree flesh.
1959. She was 44 years old. Police were still stationed at her door when she took her last breath. Harry Anslinger lived to the age of 83. He died quietly, on morphine, prescribed by his personal physician for pain management. One voice, one song, one government that hunted her all the way to her final breath. Number 2, Teddy Pendergrass.
Baby, I got some girl, it's me and you now. So much love to give.
Close the Door. 5 consecutive platinum albums, an absolute record for any solo R&B artist at the time. Women filling arenas just to be in the same room as that voice. The most physically commanding presence in the history of R&B.
Close the door. No, baby, I got some girl, it's me and you now.
Music, a performer whose power came as much from his body as it did from his voice. March 18th, 1982, 1:30 in the morning, Lincoln Drive in Philadelphia. His Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit struck a guardrail and collided violently.
Close the door. No, baby, I got some. Girl, it's me and you now.
With two trees. His head hit the roof of the car twice on impact. The second strike shattered his fifth and sixth vertebrae. He was trapped inside the wreckage for 45 minutes before rescue workers could reach him. He was 31 years old. He would never walk again. Sit with what that meant for this particular man. Teddy Pendergrass was a performer whose entire power was physical.
Girl, it's me and you now. So much love to give. And let's bring this day to a pleasant end.
The way he commanded a stage, the way he inhabited his own body in front of an audience, every bit of that taken in a single moment on a single stretch of road. He performed at Live Aid in 1985 from his wheelchair in front of 100,000 people and wept openly through the entire set. He returned to the recording studio. He charted again. He refused to disappear. But
let's bring this day to a pleasant end. I want to give it all to you, to worry no more.
Full force of what Teddy Pendergrass had been before that night on Lincoln Drive never fully returned. He passed away on January 13th, 2010. He was 59 years old, one night, one road, 28 years in a wheelchair, from the man who lost his greatest gift in a single moment, to the man the entire world watched for decades without ever truly seeing. Number 1, Michael Jackson, Billie Jean. The world called it eccentricity. That was always easier than the truth. Michael Jackson's dependency did not begin with recklessness or rebellion. It began with fire. The 1984 Pepsi commercial set his scalp alight during filming. The treatment that followed brought prescription painkillers into his life for the first time. The painkillers opened a door. The dependency walked through it. And somewhere in the years between that fire and the moonwalk that made 1 billion people simultaneously,
she was more like a beauty queen from Earth. And mother always told me, movie scene, I said don't mind, but what do you mean?
lose the ability to speak. The boy, who had been performing professionally since the age of 6, lost the ability to fall asleep like a human being without medical assistance. Nobody in the public conversation focused on that. They focused on his appearance, his lifestyle choices, the tabloid stories. Here is what the conversation kept missing. Michael Jackson was obtaining prescription medications under multiple assumed names from multiple physicians across multiple states simultaneously. The man who remains the best-selling recording artist in the history of popular music was using false identities just to be able to sleep at night. Picture the evening of June 24th, 2009. Rehearsals for the This Is It concert series have been completed. 750,000 tickets sold within hours of going on sale. The greatest musical comeback the world had ever seen.
She was more like a beauty queen from Earth. And mother always told me, movie scene,
was less than 48 hours away. He was 50 years old and standing on the edge of proving every single person wrong about him. He did not make it to the following morning. Propofol, a powerful anesthetic used in hospital operating rooms to render patients fully unconscious during surgical procedures, had been administered to him inside his own bedroom every single night for
then heavy hair turned with the ice cream. She told me her name was Billie Jean.
60 consecutive nights by his personal physician. Because Michael Jackson could no longer fall asleep without it, the county coroner found lethal levels present in his system. His physician was subsequently convicted.
I am the one who would dance. People always told me, be careful around.
Of involuntary manslaughter, 60 consecutive nights. Not one, not a handful, 60 nights of surgical anesthesia administered in his private bedroom just so the most famous person on earth could close his eyes. He was not reckless. He was not irresponsible.
She told me her name was Billie Jean, but she was more like a beauty queen. And mother always told me.
He was a human being who had been performing and producing and carrying the weight of global fame since he was a small child. And the machine built around him had ground him down so completely that silence itself had become something he no longer knew how to survive inside.
On the floor, around. And I am the one who would dance. Seem to be the one who would dance.
And not one person in his immediate circle, not one, paused long enough to ask the question that mattered most. Are you okay? He gave the world Off the Wall, Thriller, Billie Jean, Beat It, Human Nature, Man in the Mirror. He gave more than any single artist in the entire history of recorded music, and he gave it without ever once being asked what it was costing him.
I am the one who would dance. People always told me, be careful around.
750,000 tickets, 60 nights of anesthesia. One morning in June, that popular music has never recovered from. The music is still everywhere. The truth is still somewhere most people have never thought to look. These were not simply artists who made poor choices. These were extraordinary human beings who poured everything they had,
Movie scene. I said don't mind, but what do you mean? That's what you do. Don't go around breaking young girls' hearts.
every piece of themselves into music that made the world feel alive and quietly had nothing remaining to give to themselves. The songs are still here, the voices are still here, but now you understand what it truly cost to create them. Which story moved you the most tonight?
Being the one who would dance on the floor around. As she caused a scene, then heavy hair turned with the ice cream.
Drop it in the comments below. We read every single one personally. And if you love music with the real story behind it, hit subscribe. We release new videos every single week, and we never look away from the truth underneath the song.